Where to Hunt podcast. It's okay.
Hi, I'm Dan Small, host of Outdoor Wisconsin, and I listen to Where to Hunt.
Nah, it's okay.
I'm Kurt Geyer with Working Class Bow Hunter. I listen to Where to Hunt podcast, and it's decent.
It's all right.
Hey, this is Bud Fisher with Catching Deers, and I think the Where to Hunt podcast is all right.
Kiss your mother with those lips before you touch that glass, did you?
No, I didn't. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Where to Hunt podcast. I said the wrong emphasis on the podcast that connects public land hunting enthusiasts, a.k.a. the okayest podcast in the Midwest, coming to you from the Okayest Hunter podcast studio. Boom.
Nice save.
Yeah, it's June 30th, end of June. Very confusing.
We
just did our giveaway.
We did.
We had 6 winners.
It went quick.
We were scrambling.
Yeah. So next time we won't be doodling on paper, right?
No. Yeah, I'll figure that out. In fact, one of them just popped on. Matt Galbraith, you won. You won, if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong, but I think you won 3 months of Backwoods Grind Coffee.
Negative.
Nope, I'm
you
wrong.
You won the Vector Custom Shop arrows.
You won
half a dozen.
You won
See,
half a dozen.
There's a reason
Vector
I wrote
Custom
that stuff down.
I have it all kept in the hat. Yeah.
Which is over there somewhere.
Yeah. So, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. We're going to do some sponsorship call-outs real quick. Greg and I are going to chew the fat, and then we'll bring on our guest, Jacob Emery, who's sitting on mute. So hang in there with us, Jacob. But I did this fun thing here, Greg. Watch this.
What do
You want to? Let's talk about Backwoods Grind Coffee.
Whether you're at work, in a tree stand, or simply waking up, it's important to be alert, and there's no better way to get there than with Backwoods Grind Coffee. Ground fresh for every order, delivered straight to your door. Backwoods Grind Coffee.
All right, look at that.
There's a man in our microphone.
You hear that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you want 10% off of Backwoods Grind? You can enter in code W2H podcast.
It's just that simple.
Mm-hmm. We have a gum leaf one coming too.
Well, that's nice.
So we'll have to stop flapping our gums about it. But just until that happens, please go over to, well, first of all, go to backwoodsgrind.com, buy some of their coffee, support them. And also head on over to gumleafusa.com. Look at their boots. They're great. Talk about it every week. So if you're new to this show, they're 80% natural rubber, Vibram soles, super comfy, taller, durable. And if you want 10% off, you can enter in code W2H2020 and it'll save you some cash.
It's nice to save some cash.
Damn right.
And we've got our
Vector
other sponsor,
Custom
Vector Custom
Shop.
So if you're looking for a custom
Nice hat.
built, hey, thanks. Here it is.
The Vector Custom Shop hat.
Yeah, it's custom just for me. Just like their arrows. If you're looking for a custom set of arrows built to your specs, weighted up front the way you like it, within reason, go to vectorcustomshop.com. You want to buy a set of arrows, you can select from a 2-pack, a test pack, pick whatever spine and weight you want to test out and order them up, and they'll come to your door, and you can go down into your basement like I do or in the backyard and fling away and see what works best for you. When you figure out what you want, you can order a half dozen or a dozen, and when you do, enter discount code the word WHERE. Oh my.
I like that.
Yeah. Word WHERE, number 2, hunt. So Where to Hunt will give you 10% off any Vector Custom Shop arrows.
That's good stuff.
See, jack that up too.
Yeah, we'll have to get a shot of the week too. And so for those that don't know, we run a segment in the middle of the show called Shot of the Week that's post-produced in. However, if you have a shot of the week that you want to share with us, you can message us and we can just jump on a call and record it. Or if you follow the link in our bio to our podcast, you can just record a message from your phone right to Anchor. And we'll just plop that in there. If you got a great story about a shot of a shot at a deer, we'll put it in our shot of the week, which is brought to you by Vector. So that covers all of that. Did we get everybody?
I think so.
Ooh, it is hot in here, man. Oof.
All that testosterone.
It's all that scotch. Hey, we got Jacob Emery on the line with us. Jacob, thanks for hanging out.
How we doing, Jacob?
doing wonderful. A little wet here in Kentucky, that's for sure.
Yeah, we went through that yesterday.
Get our sloppy seconds with the weather.
Yeah, sort of. Maybe.
Oh, man. Yeah, I think we've actually had at my grandparents 9 inches of rain dropped in the last 48 hours or so.
Wow, and I think we're only at about, I might be wrong, but here in our area, I think we might be about 5 or 6 inches so far for the whole month. So.
Oh yeah, there's flash flooding everywhere right now.
Oh,
It's pretty
man.
bad.
Jeez. Well, sorry to make too light of it there. Yikes.
Oh yeah.
God, I'm such a jackass.
Well, you're good at it.
Oh, God. So, okay, you're in Kentucky, where
Correct.
the bourbon runs really nicely. Better than the words that are flying out of my mouth right now. I was there for the ATA back in 2017. It's a cool place.
Okay, yeah, cool. I was there too, I believe.
Good stuff, man. Well, okay, let's dive in. Why don't you tell the audience just a little bit about yourself, who you are? We know you're from Kentucky, but are you public land, private land? What do you like to hunt? What do you like to use? That kind of stuff.
All right. Well, I am obviously Jacob Emery. I am 29 years old. I like a good mix of it all. I recently, in the last 6-7 years, have really started taking up some of the public land adventures, and with good reason. And I also have 100 acres that's pretty much family oriented that I'm able to hunt and manage, and do the the management work like food plots and just run minerals all year long, and basically about 100th of what the Lukowskis have.
Right. But you get to eat, sleep, and breathe and put in the sweat equity to try and make something happen, or just make the property that much better for the whitetail that are there.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot of work, man. That's pretty cool. Do you follow the Mark Kenyon and Meat Eater Back 40 stuff?
I don't think I do, man, honestly. I know I've heard of them, but I don't follow too many people currently. Keep a few guys, some of the Southern Outdoorsman boys, and I don't know.
That makes us pretty important. That's the first person I ever heard that follows us and not those guys. So I think we'll take that as a win. We're glad we're going to let you keep talking.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So, okay, lots of public land and then private land too. What makes you pretty dynamic? That's great that you kind of straddle both worlds there. I mean, it really is two different dynamics and each have their own challenges.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And you're primarily a bow guy?
Well, I'm mainly bow because it gives more opportunities, you know what I mean? But I am not scared to pick up a rifle. It doesn't bother me a bit. 9, 10 years ago, something like that, it seemed like the world was just like anti-gun hunters, and like if you weren't a bow hunter, you were just you just shot everything, blah, blah, blah. And I was one of them, and I kind of frowned upon the way I was back in the day, especially with some of my friends. And now I'm just kind of one of those people that enjoy hunting, and I want everybody to enjoy hunting however they want to enjoy hunting. So gun, bow, muzzleloader, if I could spear hunt in Kentucky, I would. So it don't make no difference to me.
That's great. It is. You do get more opportunities, and each has its own flavor and dynamic, right? Camaraderie for gun hunting is probably what I love most, and the ethics of it, right? You actually get more successful odds at an ethical kill with a gun than a bow, but
correct.
To each his own. So, I guess the topic at hand, we're talking about a little bit more around public land access. We've talked a little bit in the past, Greg and I have some other guests about trying to use water or get through some water or cross some water to separate yourself. Where do you start when you consider access? Are you looking at topo maps? Are you looking at Google Earth? Are you doing that digital e-scouting stuff and kind of trying to figure out where the buck bedding, where the eating, where they traversing, where the other hunter is going to be? How do you break down your process?
Well, I spend a lot of time on Onyx and Hunt Stand, and when I really get to liking an area, it seems like lately I've started to single out these properties that have a lot of water on them, maybe like well, maybe not marshy, kind of like what you guys have up there that, like Dan messes with nonstop. More of like creek bottoms and sloughs and stuff like that. I started singling those out because 9 out of 10 people, if you put an inch of water in between them and, where some deer are, they ain't going to mess with it. So I really started being drawn to those areas. And as far as just kind of picking them, I just like a tract of land. It doesn't have to be huge. Most of the places that I hunt are probably 500 acres or less. A few places that I hunt are bigger than that, but just like enough land to hold a big deer or a few. And I like very few access points. And maybe some of those access points aren't even like to where you can't even walk in. You've got to put on some waders, or you got to jump in a boat or a kayak and really put in some work to get, to where those deer feel safe.
100% agree.
I'm just thinking here because I've done waders now. I've done, I did the canoe 2 years ago or last year. I'm eyeing up kayaks because the canoe is a 2-man operation. Although it probably could be a 1-man operation if I wasn't such a sissy. But I guess, but it did create a bit of, I mean, you can be silent with it, or you could totally be a dipshit and like clunk the side of the boat with the oar 100 times, or drop something. Yeah. So when you're going in through water, we'll just talk about a boat and then we'll switch to like waders and boots and all that stuff. But are you using a kayak or a canoe? And then how are you like having a stealthy approach to the property you're trying to get to? And what's like the timing? Like are you going down a river at dark, at 3 a.m, or, what does that look like for you?
Well, up till 2 years ago, my dad had a 12-foot canoe, and it was just about the perfect size to where I can maneuver it myself. And I honestly liked it better than the kayak I'm running now, because you could easily set your gear in it and, take a deer out in one piece if you needed. But now I'm running an 8-foot Old Town kayak, and it is not ideal at all. It's not one of the open surfaces one. You got to get down in the hole, and if you have the opportunity to mess up pretty bad every now and then if you tip it over, because if you get water in that thing, it's tough to get it back out. But everything that I do is based off like an oar, and I don't mess with a lot of rough water at all. Mainly because I don't have a way to mount like a trolling motor or nothing to mine. So yeah, if I'm going in, somewhere half a mile paddle, I'm having to get there pretty dang early. That way I'm not, rowing at Olympic speed and making a ton of noise, and allowing myself plenty of time to get where I'm going safely and quietly and without breaking, a huge sweat.
Yeah, that's all very important. Get in quietly, and not breaking a sweat can be pretty difficult when you're paddling. Like you said, you're looking for water that's not moving a whole lot, so you don't have to fight a current. That's less chance of you sweating.
Yeah, and
exactly.
with the sit-in kayak,
using water.
You're definitely like, I would say with the sit-in kayak, my God, the teetering of getting in and out of those things, depending on your put-in spot, what that looks like. I would be the dipshit dumping over every time. And I'm like, well, this hunts. I'm drenched. I made a bunch of noise. I could just see myself really crapping the bed on that.
Oh yeah, I try to find a nice little flat spot to put my stuff in if it ain't off the side of the road, or a nice easy little boat ramp or something. Unfortunately, the other week I was pulling some cards on some cameras, and I had to pull it out of the creek and drag it about 100 yards and put it back in the creek. And I did it successfully the first time going in, and on the way out, when I put it back down in the creek, I stuck one foot down in there, and when I lifted my left foot off to get in back in the kayak, I tipped it over just enough to where the water sucked in there, and I went underwater, the kayak went underwater, and I had to literally walk in like chest deep water, dragging this thing underwater until I got to like a sandbar, and pulled it up on it and dumped the water out of it, and had a miserable row all the way back to the truck.
Holy crap.
That's all the fun parts of doing this stuff, though. I mean, at some of the places I put my trail cameras too, it's not conducive to, just walking in a pair of tennis shoes or a pair of hiking boots. You got to wear some body rubber in order to get in there.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's a big difference, though. And it's funny. The one time I did use a canoe, I went to a spot that was, perceivably desolate, a little bit more so, at least separated me from a bunch of other guys and gals. And the exact spot I wanted to beach the canoe, there was another canoe there when I got there. I was like, wow, what the heck? I thought I was so ninja. I was like, this is it. This is the spot.
Turned out everybody decided to take their canoe that day.
Yeah, apparently. Another guy was on a john boat further up the river. I mean, so we're not the only ones with that idea. But look, even the guys with that idea, you are taking it to another level, though. You are one of much fewer at that point. So are you running into anybody else that's doing that kind of stuff? I know the Southern Ground guys, they're real big into the water access and kayaking. It shows in their content too, which is great. So I know you mentioned you listen to them too.
Oh yeah, Parker is actually the reason that I started messing with the kayak to even get into places. It started a couple of years ago. I seen him hauling out deer, and I was like, man, public land hunting can be adventurous in itself, but when you add in a water element, whatever it is, it just adds a little bit more fun and challenge to it. So that's what really drew me into doing it, honestly.
That's pretty cool.
Parker and the Southern Ground guys, he does a pretty good job and he has a lot nicer setup than I have. I need to really upgrade my kayak for sure.
The part that attracts me to it most, especially the adventure, but the drag out, put it in a boat.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going upstream on the way in, man, take a load off on the way back. I think that's the best part, I think.
Oh yeah.
Plus it looks hardcore. I mean, really, let's be honest. Putting a
Gotta do it
freaking
for the gram.
Yeah, you putting a freaking deer on a boat, whether it's a sitting kayak or inside of a canoe, man, it's freaking, there's something about it. That's pretty cool.
All antlers look bigger in a boat, period.
Oh yeah. Everyone's like, whoa. Okay, so you're doing that. Now you started with a canoe, now you're using the kayak. Have you had any success? How are you breaking down the water access? What are you looking for?
I can't really say that I'm looking for something in general. It's more along the lines of if I've got a big piece of public and maybe just maybe a place with no way to put a regular boat in. I'm looking at somewhere that's going to put maybe me only paddling 500 to 600 yards to a nice looking destination versus somebody else walking in. It might take them a mile or 2.5 miles to get there through the public. Of course, some of the private that butts up to it, somebody might be able to walk in 300 yards and be right where, I'm at. But I like to find somewhere that's going to take somebody else working 4 times as hard to get to that I can get to, in about 10 minutes of paddling.
Yeah, it's a smart choice. That's how I
ended
up doing it.
A lot of it.
That's me being good at interrupting. I'm sorry. You keep going.
No, you're good. Most of the places I mess with, honestly, I'm not putting in at a boat ramp. I might be dragging this canoe 50, 60 yards off the public road somewhere that you really wouldn't even think to park just to get it in a ditch that leads to a creek, and then, either going up north or south or whatever direction down that creek to get where I want to go.
Sure. Rough launches are always the best because not too many people are going to use them because they are a rough launch. It could be a raccoon path that takes you down to the water. You just follow that and plop it in. That's the nice part about a canoe or a kayak is you can pretty much.
One of the places I'm from in Indiana, I actually ran into a guy that he traps beavers up and down this creek, and he actually ran into me the other day while I was putting my boat in to go put some new cell links on a couple of non-cellular cameras that I have. And he asked me if, what I was doing. And he said, I told him I was, checking trail cameras and this and that. He said, you're putting in this creek in the middle of the summer? Yeah, why? And he said, dude, you better be packing a pistol And ever since I've started packing a pistol, I've killed like 7 water moccasins.
Awesome.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I was thinking like maybe
Yeah.
you're going to tell me there's a banjo playing somewhere. But that, holy crap.
No, I wouldn't be hunting there.
A little bit of deliverance. No, the water. Wow. What do you do with those when you kill them? Just that's it? Let them lie? Or do you do anything with them?
The snakes?
Yeah.
Are you talking about the snakes?
Yeah. Do you do anything with those when you kill them or what?
Hell no, I ain't even picking them up.
That's scary.
Float to the bottom of the creek.
Yeah, I don't know if those are really, they might be edible, but I don't know if you'd really want to waste your
I don't
time
know.
on
That's
them.
why I ask. You never know.
Yeah.
Some people like real
like
hardcore
them.
about shit.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I'm not that hardcore.
No, I don't think I'd want to mess with one of them either.
Hell no. So you said you just put some cell links on trail cams that weren't outfitted for that to begin with. So now what are you went out and now you got some feed coming back to your phone for you?
Do what? I'm sorry. I think you maybe cut in and out a little
Yeah,
bit.
no, on the trail cam. So you went out, it sounds like pretty recently to put cell links on some of the trail cams.
Yeah, a couple of my non-cellular cameras. I run a couple. I run all kinds of trail cameras. I think somebody tagged me in a post the other day with the hunting grounds, and I was with those guys for 7 years. And of course, 5 Point was one of our sponsors, so I have a lot of those cameras. And recently discovered the $28 Tascos from Walmart, and those are my bread and butter. I have 17 of them now, and yeah, started testing out those cell links, man, and the ability to change any camera out there into a cellular transmitting camera is really neat. So
You're gonna have to
couple
send me
places that are
some links
super
on
hard
that.
to reach like that.
Yeah, tell us more. Tell us more about this. This
definitely
is
wanna put
interesting.
some-
Yeah, that sounds real interesting. I mean, because otherwise you're paying, well, anywhere from, we'll say, mid 200s on up for a cellular camera.
And put on public land. It's a gamble.
Yeah. So the cell link sounds pretty interesting.
Yep, they're pretty cool.
Rock on. So you're running 17 of those. You're canoeing out. So water is a big thing. Have you, do you bring waders too then? Or do you have plots of land where maybe you're not bringing the canoe if you're traveling to a different state and you're still looking for that water to separate you? That sounds like the primary goal here is to really look at access, find land that has limited access, or go for the spots that are limited in access. And really you're trying to, separate yourself from the herd, so to speak, of other public land hunters.
Exactly. And no, a lot of times when I take a kayak with me, I have a trash bag in there in the back of the kayak that I have a set of hip waders with me, just some cheap Frog Tog hip waders that I might be able to kayak so far, and I might need to throw those on, to get a little bit further away. Or I've even done a couple hunts to where that's the only thing I take with me. Because like I said, you put just a little bit of water in between a human and, kind of a remote place, and they don't want to deal with it. And it don't bother me to walk up to my way past my knees to get somewhere. If it means me being by myself and, deer acting like deer are supposed to act when you get back in there.
Right. Yeah, they're unpressured. They don't get a whole lot of human interaction.
That's something I didn't consider, actually. I'll just pivot a little bit because I've been doing the tactic talks. I just did one tonight that'll air next week, and I did one last week with Zach Fehrenbaugh with the Hunting Public, and we're talking about early season and how you can really pressure these deer a lot harder because they haven't been pressured yet. So you can go pretty aggressive, and they haven't really, they're still in that summer routine where they haven't seen a lot of hunters. However, based on what you're telling me, it sounds like you kind of have a little pocket where if you get to this landmass that's separated by water and it's limited hunting or very little or none, and you're the only goofball going out there because you're hardcore and awesome, you can tap into not only separating yourself from other hunters, but in addition to that, you're getting access to unpressured deer.
Yes, 100%.
That's very interesting. What's your approach once you get there? Because it sounds like some of these spots are maybe new to you based on I'm going to go and I'll see if it's good. How are you determining if it's good or not? What are you looking for?
Well, obviously they're going to need even when they get to those remote places, they're going to look for the thickest, nastiest place to bed up. A lot of times I found with water, they're not so concerned with the way that the wind's blowing, more as where they can see you coming from and hear you coming from, because everybody knows, I mean, walking through water and quietly is almost impossible. So really, when you find that really just money spot that's so remote, and just it's like virgin territory, honest to God, I like going in super early, like this time of year, and I'm not afraid to go in the rain, just because I know what scent I leave behind is going to be washed away. But one of the main tools that I use this time of year is taking a couple of cell cameras with me, and I always have one or two in my pack when I'm scouting, because I never know when I'm going to find something that just screams, man, I wish I had a camera right now. Like, for instance, I kayaked about a mile and a half down this creek a couple weeks ago, and looking on Hunt Stand versus Onyx, because if you guys use Onyx at all, it just shows summer imagery. It's kind of tough to pick out what's what, especially in like the slough looking area that, I was in. But I was able to pull up Hunt Stand, and it looked like a small island. And I was able to walk all the way out there in just regular rubber boots to get to it, because the water was down pretty bad that time. And I got to that island, and I didn't bump anything off of it, but like it wasn't but maybe an acre size island full of red oaks and white oaks, and there's just beds everywhere on it. So I dropped a camera there, and I get pictures every single day of multiple different deer that are going in and out of that place. And I know that when I go back to hunt that place, I'm not going to be able to obviously get on that island, but I'm going to get to the closest point that they're using to go from maybe across that water or through that water to get on like the dike or the next landmass, and wait for them to come off that thing, or catch them, heading to it in the morning early.
I love it. One of my good buddies, Joel, he'll just wade. There's a certain river in our area here. I'm not going to give anything away, but it's sandy bottom. He'll just wade up the river. So he won't even bring a canoe. He just walks up the river as slow as he can go. And in fact, based on the property type, I've checked with the DNR in Wisconsin on this. If you're in the river, whether in a canoe, a non-motorized boat, or like standing, you can traverse land that you might not otherwise get access to. And there's a certain, what's it called? Easement or what have you, right? That you can actually shoot deer on land, right? If it's landlocked, or you can get to the spot. So he's actually had a shot at a pretty nice buck by just walking up a river. And he's like, it's great. There's no scent. I'm not making a lot of sound. It's actually pretty easy to traverse. I'm not busting through all the thick stuff that's on the river side, right? River edges. No one else is there. I'm like, man, you talk about, water separating. He's literally using the water as a means to hunt. Whereas I abutted water, and I was like, I can't cross this. So then I went back with a canoe the next season, thinking I was a wise guy.
Yeah. I bump a lot of deer bedded right up next to the water. So I could definitely see that, being beneficial, maybe somewhere like where you guys are. If you try walking down one of these creeks down here, it's either walking like you're on concrete, or you're walking in quicksand. You'll go up to your freaking crotch before you know it, and you're stuck.
Yep.
Yeah, that freaks me out a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Because you don't know. You just don't know. You suddenly step, you're like, oh, God. And if you're trying to carry a bow over your head or something like that, it's a challenge. It's a big challenge.
Yep.
That's cool. So you got waders. I like the idea of you bringing waders in your kayak, in a trash bag in the back. That's pretty smart.
It's cheaper than a dry bag.
Yeah, I definitely have to put them in the trash bag, because one way or another, I'm getting water on the inside of that kayak. If it's the last thing I do, I will get water in it somehow, some way.
It sounds like you might want to switch back to that canoe you're using.
I think I need to sell it and get a different one is what I need to do.
That's not a bad idea. Levi had responded in the comments. We were talking about that. He's like, you can get a canoe with a flat back and you can put a trolling motor on that thing.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea either. Nice and quiet. Get you upstream easily. Not working so hard, not making as much noise.
Yep.
Probably going off Facebook Marketplace for pretty cheap. Craigslist or whatever the heck people are doing these days.
Yeah, I'm searching every single day for one.
They'll come up. I mean, duck season's coming here soon. So once duck season hits, you're going to start seeing all sorts of fun stuff come up online for sale.
It's cool. So what other states are you hunting other than Kentucky? Where else are you going?
This year is going to be very up in the air as far as my early season hunt. I have a baby due on September 3rd. And I mean, we could do a whole other podcast on when to not have, sexual relations with your significant other. But you need to time it where it does not end up, during hunting season.
Both my kids
she loves me.
Born in September.
I hope she didn't hear me say that. She's in the other room. But I really, really, really was hoping to make the Tennessee early season velvet hunt again. Last year I had a heck of a time and saw 3 really nice deer and ended up shooting the smallest of all those deer because I was just ready to fill a tag as quickly as possible. So honestly, I'm hoping for Tennessee early season. And Kentucky comes in September 5th, and I have a deer I am chasing on public or kind of public right now. But I'm hoping to fill my tag on early, and then Indiana comes in October 1st, and I don't know what the future holds after that, but I might try to make a trip down south to Alabama, maybe to hunt with some of my buddies down there later in the year. And we have an Army base. You guys have probably heard of it, Fort Knox. I think it's where all the gold or whatever is in the U.S. I don't know what's actually in there. Who knows what's in there? But they have a couple quota hunts every year, and I seem to get drawn for one of those every year. So it's a bonus buck. I probably hunt up there 1 or 2 weekends, and it's pretty much my plans for this year. I've normally, the last couple of years, I've been to Colorado elk hunting, and obviously with the baby due on September 3rd, that ain't happening this year.
No, sir.
Is that your second?
No.
Kid? You said you had a birthday you were celebrating tonight with your daughter, right?
Yeah, my little girl turned 6 today, and my fiance, she has a 2-year-old boy, and she is, like I said, we're expecting another little boy, so technically I'll have 3.
Good for you, man. That's awesome. It makes it hard. Greg and I are planning an elk hunt. I say planning loosely because we ain't done much other than get some good information from our friends at Elk Bros, Blue Collar Elk. But we're looking, but more than likely we'll probably land in Colorado for 2021 is what we're thinking. But we were thinking gun, and now after talking with Elk Bros, we're thinking maybe we shouldn't do gun.
Yeah.
He's like,
no, you got to go during bone. You got to go during September.
Yeah.
When they're screaming in your ear.
So yeah, maybe we'll have to chat more about that offline too. It's a whole different topic, and we don't even know how to start that one. But I'm fascinated with the water stuff. What else are you doing other than water to separate yourself? Or like, what other things do you look for to determine access? Like, if I look at a property, there's one nearby. I know there's a parking lot, and it's one of the only places you can really access the property because you can't park on the roads nearby. They're like you can barely like have 2 cars going opposite directions on the road as is. There's certainly no parking on it. There's a lot of bluffs and drop offs and things like that.
Yeah.
But like a lot of, like I've done a couple of years where like we'll do the buddy system where someone will drop someone off in certain places. So then you're not hoofing it so far and you're still getting the access that you want. I just wonder how you're looking at a property to determine what access looks like for other people.
I think that's a big thing in the scouting property is first thing you've got to find out where everybody else is, 90% of the access is coming from. And sometimes, unless you do like what you said, is dropping a buddy off, which is a great idea. If there's only one spot to access, a lot of times I'll grab my mountain bike, and that's another thing that I'll use to kind of put some, distance in between where me and a couple other guys are where most of the guys are trying to get to. But you can't rule out, some of the overlooked spots too that are really close. I've had a little bit of success hunting within 300, 400 yards within a parking lot, because a lot of times that's where a big deer is going to bed to watch, either you come in or, listen for the gravel or see headlights coming in the morning. But I don't know. Like I said, places with less places to park seem to be better hunting, in my opinion, because if you've got just a big square block, just say something like 160 acres, which is a mile by mile. If you've got 4 places, to access that, obviously the farthest you can get away from anywhere is dead in the middle. So most of the time, that's where everybody and their brother's going to try to get to anyways. So you're looking at those 4 different squares in that area, and maybe, depending on the topo and the terrain features or any edges, those might be places that I look first on a property that small.
I like that. Greg, where are you hunting this year? Do you know? You got spots? I mean, you've been putting trail cams out.
Yeah, I've got spots.
I'm not asking you to tell people where your spots are, but what is the property like?
Let's just say there's plenty of wet in between places.
You're doing marsh bottoms, right?
Yeah, it's very much marsh.
It's all just wet.
It's either cattail or tag alder swamp, or there's willow in it. There's all sorts of fun stuff. And yeah, there's a few high spots where there might be a few oaks in there, but for the most part, it's pretty nasty stuff. And I've found some man sign back there. I mean, I found an arrow from years past. The fletchings were all dry rotted off of it, but I found it this spring, right after I found the shed, actually. And I found trail markers coming from the water, so I know someone's water accessing that spot. But I think they're hunting closer to the higher ground instead of picking maybe one of those other spots that probably might be. It's definitely less comfortable to get into as a human, but I think it'd probably put you closer to the X if you decide to go hunt it. I'm almost wishing I would have put a little more time into scouting that spot some more, but I think I'm gonna
roll the dice in season a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll the dice in season. I'm gonna in season scout. I'm gonna even try and get back there yet this year and brave all the flies and the mosquitoes. So
yeah, our next giveaway is gonna have to be like a dozen thermocells, and I'm gonna win.
Yeah. You're gonna look like Flava Flav with one of the lanterns around your neck.
You want to talk about bling bling? It's gonna be me wearing 10 freaking thermocells around my neck. I can't handle mosquitoes, man.
You're kind of a girl.
I just don't. I can't do it. It does something to my frustration. Even if I'm not getting bit, if I just know they're there buzzing in my ear, I just can't handle it. If you want to see me get crabby, that's the one way to do it.
We're totally putting your ass in a canoe and we're gonna row out there.
Oh God, I get I only get that crabby when I'm overtired or overbugged by mosquitoes.
And we're gonna have to go Instagram.
It's a rare form. It's rare form for me.
Show your rare form.
Yeah, it's pretty rare. You have to put the sensors on for that one. I'd be swearing all up and down that thing. Not good. It's not good. But that's not.
It'd be entertaining.
I'll deal with it, man. But it's rough. Early season's really hard. You get so excited to go hunt. You're all jacked up. You've been waiting all damn year, and then you realize it's hotter than two rats doing it in a wool sock, and then there's mosquitoes sucking every drop of blood out of you along the way. You're like, what am I doing here? Not to mention the grass. What's that grass that cuts you?
And the added factor this year is if you really want to mind screw yourself, they're COVID skeeters. They could be. You don't know.
Oh, no. I can't do that right now. No, we're going to have to move along.
COVID skeeto.
Is that a thing? This is a
I don't know.
fucked up game of Jumanji we're playing this year, man. There's like a dust bowl coming to Minnesota in the Midwest from the Sahara Desert or something. Oh my God. All right, we're way off topic.
Yeah,
this is what happens, Jacob.
Welcome to rabbit
the
holes. Rabbit holes are fine with me.
They are. Welcome to the Where to Hunt podcast, where we don't know what the hell we're doing. We just learn from guys like you, though. We just oh yeah, tell us all of your secrets and mistakes. All right, we're going to do that this year. Get out the canoe.
You'd be better off to listen to me and take every bit of advice that I throw out and do the opposite, and you'd probably have a lot better luck.
This is why we're in the OKS Hunter podcast studio. There's a reason for this shit.
Oh yeah, okay.
Oh,
The okayest podcast in the Midwest.
you
That's
got
right.
it.
Yeah. We just, everyone goofs up and makes silly mistakes, and that's it's like the blooper reel of hunting. If you could imagine all of that stuff,
Everybody learns.
it's so fun. It makes different types of memories, and you got to get past that stuff. But it's like we've all been there. We've all learned what not to do.
Everybody learns differently, and just so happens we learn the hard way. It's just the way it is.
Yep. Or the dumb way, whatever that means.
It's the hard way.
Mm-hmm. Me and my buddy Joel, I was just talking about him. We decided to like go through one of the hardest swamps I think I've ever been through. I don't know what it's called. It was ridiculous. And we got pretty far apart from each other, and we're both in our own little world suffering together but apart. And we thought we were covering this ground to get to this island, and then we finally get to where we thought we were, and we had totally turned ourselves around and we were nowhere. We got to this other spot of land. We're like, wait, what? We've moved like 10 feet from where we started by doing a big circle. It was so disappointing. Yeah. So much work for zero reward. Well, I was like, well, we're not going to go there now. Like we just burned like 1,000 calories and wasted 2 hours of daylight getting ourselves stuck in a swamp.
You do.
So we thought we were badass and separating ourselves, and we weren't. But that's kind of the idea, though, like to get away from other hunters. I like the concept, though, that we talked about, where you're getting onto, some sort of virgin deer territory or virgin hunter territory.
Yep. Those are becoming few and far between because, let's be honest, with social media and things like what we're doing now, it's great because I think it makes everybody a better hunter. But now you're putting the idea in everybody's head to let's get way back in there and let's try this or whatever. Eventually, we're going to start running into everybody, 2-3 miles back in there, and the big buck's going to be, being killed 20 yards from the truck or something eventually.
Yeah, perhaps.
That's where everybody's at.
Yeah, perhaps. I think there's a bit of a spectator sport, so I still think people like to consume more than they like to do. I think a lot of people would love the idea of doing some of this stuff, but they ain't never going to do it.
Exactly. That people, that's just part of it, man. People are lazy, and I think that extra work and sweat, sometimes it doesn't pay off. I mean, you could do all these, things all year long and work your butt off, and you still might not feel that tag. And it's not like you didn't try. It's just part of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I tell my wife that every year.
Well, and I hunt with a group that we do a lot of pushing of the public land around my area just at the end of gun season. Got enough guys that haven't filled tags, and we want to go out, and some of the guys want to get some deer meat. So that's what we do, and a lot of those pushes end up empty. Guys with full boots and complaining. I mean, we had 2 people defect from the group last year, and my ears were ringing the entire time. Someone was talking bad. Someone wasn't very happy with me. That was the jerk that put him in the bad place. That was just so happened to be hip deep in water, and you're breaking ice to get through it. So it's not always a ton of fun, but you're making a memory.
To me, that's what's fun about it. It's not a ton of fun, but that's what's fun about it.
I find it fun. As sick and weird as that sounds,
that's where the stories come from.
To go pounding through the swamp, and we've had plenty of deer get right around us too. You hear them get up, you hear them go crashing, splashing through right in between 2 guys, and we try to hunt safe, and nobody's pulling triggers at stuff. We always have a guy. We leave one guy behind at the back door, but deer can still get around one guy if he can't get elevated. And some of the cover we push is pretty intense cover. So it's a very high risk for little to no reward. So
a lot of sweat equity that might not pay off.
Yep.
But you're definitely thinking smart about it. That's cool. I mean, it looks like you're doing some editing on some film work, and you shared some pictures of a nice buck that you got. So I'm excited to see some of the content you're putting out to align with this conversation, honestly.
I am actually typing the description for it on YouTube as we speak right now. trying to peck the keyboard very quietly.
Nah, it's okay, man. Let it rip.
I'm not very good at this, by the way. For years, when I worked with the hunting grounds, and there's some great guys, really, really good guys. I just I don't know what it was this year with all the stuff that I had going on that maybe I'm not talking about, and I just kind of wanted to just hunt on my own and the way I wanted to hunt, and I didn't want to feel pressured to film my hunts because I'm one of those guys that I love to film my hunts, and I'm all about sharing everything that I do with everybody because I think it's just fun to do and it's something to look back on.
Sure.
But if it comes down to filling that tag, or not, and just because I didn't get it on camera, I'm filling that tag every single time. Out-of-state tags are expensive, and that's the bottom line. And I don't like going home empty-handed. I'll go home with something, that I'm happy with. I won't just shoot anything, but I'm not gonna pass up something just because I couldn't get it on film.
That's a pretty big
I like
deal.
that, man. That's a good mantra, and good for you for doing what you feel like you need to do, especially with a kid on the way and all that stuff, man. Like that's a lot going on.
Yeah, I felt like I just needed to kind of focus on family this year and change up the way I do things and just enjoy hunting.
Yep. Yeah, that's cool. And you got private property you can bounce back to and stuff and take care of, and do whatever you got to do there also on top of everything else you're doing.
Oh yeah, there's I don't think anything beats hunting a track of public. Maybe like a brand new one, especially just the challenge of it. But there's an art to managing and growing deer and giving them everything they need. And there's just something really, really cool about giving a deer everything he needs all year long, and then just being able to put a tag on him. Some people don't like the idea of that, and I like both sides of it, so it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, it's cool. I dig it. We're definitely not. I know we call ourselves the Public Land Hunting Enthusiast Podcast, but we're not. That doesn't mean we're haters of private land. It's not. That's not what it means. It's just our
last
focus.
year I had a small 20-acre parcel that I was limited to, and there were some deer on there, and I passed up just about every one of those deer. I had one good one on camera, but I don't think he was hanging around there much. But it was just fun to be out there and have the interaction with them, and know that I didn't have to worry about anybody walking in on me. So that was kind of the saving grace. Now I've had private land where I've had people walk in on me that shouldn't be there. So there's always challenges. It doesn't matter where you're at. And then the neighbor decided it was a good idea to break out his AR-15 and target practice one night. I managed to see 3 deer, and then he started banging away, and those deer were gone. So there's always that too.
It doesn't take a small piece.
No, it doesn't take much, especially when the access is pretty limited.
That's what drives me nuts is when people say, "Oh, you hunt private, it must be nice." It's like, well, you take somebody that's hunting 1,000-acre tract of public, and then you give a guy, 100 to 50 acres of private, and
there's
which
more,
one do you think is going to be more pressured?
Right. There's more
it's going to be the private man.
Yeah, there's more opportunity on the public. That's really the reason I do it is I look at it and go, I've got, X amount of acres to hunt around my house, and then I've got a pile of acreage to the north of me too that, well, it's shared use. I mean, there's hikers, there's people that go out and pheasant hunt. When pheasant season opens up here, it sounds like World War III. Duck season, and a lot of that's wet, so the duck hunters are out there also. So you're sharing access with everybody. It's not just a deer hunting paradise. So I think early season is definitely your best bet. And then if you can get out during the week when nobody else is out there, that's also the time to hit it.
Mm-hmm.
Early season is my favorite time to hunt, hands down.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, nut up or shut up and deal with the mosquitoes. I think.
Yeah, you will.
It is what it is. But Jacob, why don't you tell us about if we planted the seed appropriately, your most memorable hunt? We'd love to hear about it. And if you've been following along with the podcast, at some point we'll put this into a nice produced piece for you.
Yeah, sure. One of my most memorable hunts. Well, one of them is, the one where I took my daughter with me and she got to see me kill a deer. But that wasn't too exciting. It was just something I'm going to remember forever. But probably one of my most memorable hunts was I had tagged my 2018 target buck, which is the hunt I'm editing right now or uploading. And I just felt super good about it. I had a Tennessee tag in my pocket, and I looked at a big tract of land called Land Between the Lakes. It goes into Tennessee, but most of it is in Kentucky. But the bigger portion is in Kentucky. But kind of spent all week long e-scouting, just hardcore, just trying to find like, man, I got like 2 or 3 days to make this happen. So I picked a place on the map using a couple layers, and I don't really want to disclose those layers because a lot of people don't really use them down there. But I found a spot that I really liked, kind of a transition between 2 big ridges, and I worked my way in. And at the time, I was using a heavy, like, summit climber. I had my backpack with my bow and all my filming equipment in it. So I was like right at 40 pounds walking in. I was like, oh my God, this sucks. This is why I hate filming my hunt sometimes. But I kind of I scouted my way back. And right when I got to that area, I started finding like great sign, like real nice looking rubs, scrape line. And I followed it. And I ended up running into somebody's camera that was on the tree. And I thought, you know what? Nobody's here. I don't see any like tree stand set up. I was like, screw it. I'm gonna climb up 25 yards from here. And I climbed up and I sat all afternoon long. It was November 17th, I believe. And right at last light, I caught a glimpse of a buck walking through the timber. And I grunted at him, and like you see on freaking Real Tree Productions, he just bristled up, pinned the mirrors back, and here he comes just stomping my way. And I was shooting a 60-pound triax that year. And he stopped at 42 or 43 yards. I remember pulling a shot, and I hit him a little far forward. It seemed like that arrow took just years to get there. Luminok was going through the dark timber, and I'm like, come on. But I hit him, and I remember I was so jacked that my thought process was so screwed up when all this was happening. Because one, I couldn't believe that caliber of a deer was, coming right to me. I hit him, and I didn't get great penetration because I hit him in the front shoulder blade. But I got down, went to my arrow, checked it. I thought, you know what? I've been bow hunting for 18 years at that time. I said, I'm going to back out. I've never backed out on a deer before. And as I was walking out of the woods and I got halfway to my truck, I heard coyotes light up. And
oh, wow.
It just, I didn't know what to do because, one, I didn't have no sidearm on me. I was like, I don't want to go back in there because I don't even know if this deer is like down yet or dead yet or anything. And my first thought was like, what if they caught him and they're going to finish him off, and, at least I'll have closure. But I went and stayed the night with a buddy that lived about 40 minutes away because it's about a 2-hour drive from my house. And went back in the next morning. And I went about 30 yards, nothing. I was just following like where he had ran off, and I crossed a log. And as soon as I crossed the log, he started dumping blood. Just, oh my God, I was sick. I was like, damn it, I'm going to find him. I guarantee you I don't find him the way I want to find him, but I'm going to find him. And I followed it another 50 yards, and I started smelling wet dog. And sure enough, I looked over my left, and there was nothing left of him, like his skeleton. They ate every ounce of meat, stomach matter, everything off that deer, all the way up to the base of his neck. And it was the most sickening feeling of my life, hunting life, so to speak, because I just literally killed the biggest deer of my hunting career. And, I'm not going to get good pictures with him, and all the meat went to waste, which is what really pisses me off. But it's just one of those things that, eventually it's going to happen. I regret it, but then again, I don't regret it because I trusted my gut. I didn't think that deer was dead. At least, by the time I got down out of the tree, but he was dead 100 yards from where I stuck him. And
yeah, damn.
I had to go to Kate for him, but he's on my wall upstairs, and he ties my other buck, from Kentucky. That was, they both scored like 153 and 3/8 or something. One of them's a 10-point in full velvet, and then you got him that's a 7x5, and those are my 2 best deer.
Cool.
Man, what a crazy story.
But,
I would have been pretty eerie about the coyote thing too. I don't know if I would have been brave enough to just go find them anyways if they were howling like that. Wolves is a different story for me. I think I would have been a little bit more fearful. Coyotes, I don't know. I'm not sure what their nature is when they're onto something like that.
When there's 9 or 10 of them, I don't like that. I mean, there was I mean, you could hear them everywhere back here, dude. And I was like, there's got to be at least 10 coyotes. There ain't no way I'm going back here.
That's crazy. Well, you fed them.
Yeah, they ate well.
Holy crap.
Well, yeah, they did. That's for sure.
My gosh. So are we going to be able to watch your YouTube video tonight then?
Yes, I think so. I'm putting it up as we speak, and the hunt I just told you about is also on there. If you want to check that out, it's kind of a shorter, condensed version. All these hunts that I've got on here, but basically all of them you can watch on the Hunting Grounds YouTube channel. I'm just uploading them and editing myself, just to have on my own personal page. I'm not trying to start a hunting show or nothing. I'm just putting my content up there, to rewatch one day or, let other people see.
Sure. So, where can we find you? What is your YouTube channel and your Instagram?
Yeah, how do we
handle?
watch?
My YouTube, I believe, is just my name. It's Jacob Emery, and that's Jacob. It's Emery. That's the best way to find my videos that I'm putting up. Currently, I might put a couple teasers on Instagram every now and then or something like that.
Sure.
Cool, man. That's exciting. I'm happy to check that out. I like that with all the smart TVs now. YouTube's just kind of like an app you can open so you can watch all this stuff on a big TV. That makes it like far better than just checking out on your phone or your computer.
Oh yeah. Here's the funny thing is, when I don't know how old you guys are, but when I was little, you watch guys hunt on TV and you're like, oh my God, they're the coolest things ever. And now this generation, like my kid, my little girl, she watches kids on YouTube all the time. So when she sees that I'm on YouTube, she thinks I'm like the most famous person in the world. Keely, I can put you on YouTube in 30 minutes if you want.
Just keep her away from Blippi. You'll never forgive yourself.
Oh, it'll make you want to shout Blippi?
Oh God. Yep. Blippi.
Yep.
Fucking Blippi.
Or chip and potato.
There's so many of them.
There's too many.
Too many.
There is.
Yeah. Oh gosh, we're gonna go down to the rabbit hole. Well, dude, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're hanging out with your family, so and you're working through the podcast too, publishing videos. So we appreciate you helping share some knowledge on how to access public land. I think you definitely get the gears turning here on our end.
For sure, man. And I'm not, I still have a lot to learn on it, and I think everybody can take a little bit from somebody,
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. No calls on this episode. I think that'll change when we get into season here. I think we'll start to see more calls come through and stuff, but that's totally okay. It's hard to navigate and manage all that, so I don't mind it too much. But yeah, man, we'll get this thing produced tonight. So, thanks again.
Yeah, thanks for calling.
Hey, no problem, man. Thank you for having me on.
All right, 1 sec. I'm just going to end the live feed here.